Welcome to the Trecena of Khan. Today is March 18th, and I will be sharing about the next 13 days in accordance with the Mayan Cholq'Ij count of time, as well as weaving in Western tropical astrology. My name is Samantha, and I run Hands of Mercury here, devoted to personal and collective healing and transformation. And I share these forecasts in the hope that you can bring more consciousness and more sacred into your days ahead. I always like to start these forecasts invoking the celestial bodies we'll be talking on, the nahuales, the chumilab that we will be speaking on. So if you'll join me in closing your eyes, taking a nice deep breath, getting centered, and opening up this space of prayer and gratitude as well. Heart of the sky, Rukushka, heart of the earth, Rukushuleo, heart of my being. I ask to open up this space that I may be a clear and pure channel, interpreter, and messenger of the celestial bodies and of the Chumilab, the nahuales today, calling on our celestial bodies, our dear Mother Earth, our Father Sun, our Grandmother Moon, our sacred messenger Mercury, sacred lover Venus, sacred warrior Mars, our great guide and giver of blessings Jupiter, our Father Time, Boundary Maker Saturn, Great Liberator Uranus, Sacred Dreamer Neptune, and Lord of Death and Rebirth Pluto. Thank you for guiding us from your cosmic positions, your cosmic thrones. Calling on the nahuales that we're working with today, Trecena of Khan, guided by Khan, the feathered serpent, Kukumats, Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl. Thank you for guiding the evolution of consciousness, for reminding us of the sacred life force energy that exists within our body and within our DNA. Thank you for connecting us to the stars and the cosmos. We call upon the other nahuales we'll be journeying with in this Trecena. Kae keme oshi ke kae kanil o to waki si wuku bats washaki belehe a lahu ish hulahu sikin kablahu ahmak oshlahu no. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for guiding us in our lives. As well, for those that are listening in, to call in your nahual, calling in your day sign that guides you in this life, calling in that planet, celestial body that is very active in your chart, giving gratitude for the guidance throughout your lifetime and throughout your human journey. A deep prayer of gratitude to the teachers, the elders, the wisdom keepers, the ones who have kept and preserved this knowledge and passed it down through tradition, even in times of persecution and violence. Thank you to the lands of Guatemala. Thank you to the lands of Greece, of Northern Africa, of the Levant, of Mesopotamia, of all these spaces, these sacred lands upon the earth where sacred traditions and wisdom keeping and observations have been held. And taking a nice deep breath in, maybe adding anything to the prayer that you would like to pray for in this day. Thank you. So for brief context of the two systems I'll be speaking on today, we're working with tropical astrology, which places the vernal equinox, the spring equinox of the Northern Hemisphere, at 0 degrees Aries. We have 12 zodiac signs that we work with in that calendar system. And so we are finishing up Pisces season. We're going to be moving into Aries season on March 19th of this year. And then as well, we are speaking on the Mayan Cholq'Ij or Xolquin count of time or calendar. So this is a 260-day calendar that is used for ceremonial and spiritual purposes. And we move through Trecenas, which are 13 days. And there are 20 cycles of these 13 days. So 20 nahuales, 13 different galactic tones or numbers that work with those nahuales. So again, 2 Khan is going to feel very different than 8 Khan, which is going to feel very different than 11 Khan. And this is also a calendar that correlates to the human experience because we have 10 fingers and 10 toes for the 20, and then 13 articulations or joints in the human body. I have more in the links below on where to find more out about this sacred count of time. So we just finished up the Trecena of the Trecena of the wildcat. And this was an important Trecena in the fact that we were working with this 13-day period, really integrating, reflecting, and making new strides in what has been a year of being guided by the wildcat. So we were guided up until February 18th, most of 2023, by that wildcat, which is in charge of our sacred path and our destiny. So many were presented with pivots, with crossroads, with reality checks on why they're going down the certain path they're going down, the people that are accompanying them on that path. And if they want to shift drastically, now might be the time to do so. This also involves a lot of travel. The wildcat does travel and explore and wander. So it felt like there was this practical, grounded progress that came with the Trecena of I found for myself, there were seeds that were planted in September of 2023 that really came to fruition finally. I crossed the finish line of a big project, a big goal of mine that I've been working with during this Trecena of that moved forward. If you felt that way as well, congratulations. I know a lot of my clients have felt like they've been in a bit of a holding pattern for about the past month, even maybe 2 months, January, February, like, okay, I know that I want this to start. I know that there's a big change coming. I know that there's a new era for me, or even, a promotion that's been waiting in the wings for a year, a job change that's been waiting in the wings for a year, a move that's been waiting in the wings for a year. And it just feels like we're in this holding pattern. And a lot of that is we're wrapping up an astrological year. Pisces season, especially, has been hit with some delays and roadblocks because of Saturn's co-presence. But now we're on the threshold of eclipse season. We're on the threshold of the spring equinox, which is this bursting of spark and fire and flame and transmutation into Aries season, into change, into the new. I had been in the holding period myself, and it finally pushed forward in the past week. So if it's happening for me, it will happen for you. I'm always watching and seeing, okay, who's getting clarity, what's shifting. Okay, if it's shifting for a couple of us, that means everyone else is starting to get their shifts coming up. So now we're in the Trecena of Khan, and this is a time of transformation, because we can think of Khan as the snake who is shedding its skin. There's deep symbolism that I have seen as well with Khan being related to the energy of Scorpio in the Western zodiacal tradition. So Scorpio is connected to the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix. There's these levels of initiation that Scorpio goes through because they are really the sign that's deeply connected with the death and rebirth process. And if you have a lot of Scorpio energy in your chart, you might be tasked with dying before you die many times in the human life. Sometimes even having a near-death experience can occur. Cucumatz in the Mayan tradition as well moves through the transformation process, the death, rebirth, and alchemy of transforming into different animals. So there's the story of Cucumatz descending to the underworld, transforming from the serpent to the eagle to the jaguar, resting, and then transforming once again back into this serpent. I think it's fascinating that we see that parallel there between Scorpio and the symbolism of Khan and Cucumatz. For this Trecena of Khan, I was reading up on Kenneth Johnson's interpretation of the day. He runs a page called Jaguar Wisdom on Facebook. As well, he has written a book called Jaguar Wisdom, so highly recommend you check him out. And he was sharing how Khan is related to 3 day signs, actually. So Khan is the feathered serpent. So this mix of the quetzal bird and the serpent, the snake. And in the feathered serpent form, it is associated with Ik, which is the hummingbird or the wind god, the air. And so The second sign that's associated is Ach, which is the reed cane or the corn stalk, which is related to the spine in the human body. So we can almost think as the spine is the column or the material that can hold Kan, which is the lightning. It's the actual energy that moves up the spine, and there's a connection there. As well, we see in the Mayan Cross that the destiny for Kan is always going to be moving into right? So learning how to work with your internal vital life force energy, your creative energy, your sexual energy, and then moving that into which is about being a leader, about not being swayed one way or another, but really standing in your ethics and your values and right relationship with your life energy and with the energy of the world and the community around you as well. So I thought that was really cool. Getting to read his interpretation. I didn't realize there was those two other day signs that are associated with Kan in that particular way, specifically Eek. Kenneth was also speaking on the Koyopa, the Quiche term for lightning, which is the outer lightning, but also the lightning that resides within us. So we can see lightning as like the serpent of light from the sky, but we also have the inner lightning, the inner energy. And when day keepers, spiritual guides, in the Maya tradition, sometimes receive a message, he said that it can come through as like electricity in the joints, right? The 13 joints that we have in the body. I reflected on reading Kenneth's post, and I was reminded of last year when I was putting on an event with Tata Walter in San Marcos La Laguna at Lake Atitlan, and we were working with the energy of 5 Kan. We put on this event together. We are both born under the Nahual of Kan. So I have a soft spot for speaking about my Nahual today. And on the way to set up for our event, I had my water bottle in my backpack. And I just happened to hit my arm as I was walking down the hill right at the spot where your funny bone or that nerve in your elbow is sensitive, right into my stainless steel water bottle. And it just shot this incredible sense of lightning through my arm. It really hurt. I remember thinking like, oh, there's Kan, there's that electricity. It just let me know that it was working through today. Not the most pleasant of experiences. I've experienced this as really intense and profound energy of the lightning that moves through the body. And it's very delicate to work with. And it's very important to have guides and to have instruction in working with that energy. And we even see that in the Vedic system if we're looking at yoga from India as well, to be very mindful when you are opening up to work with that energetic kundalini energy within your body, because the nervous system can kind of overload if you go too fast, too soon, too quick, too far. When we're working with the Trecena of Kan, I implore you to, yes, get back in touch with that life force energy that lives within you. If you've felt dull, if you've felt kind of dampened, I know a lot of us in the Northern Hemisphere are moving out of winter. It's like time to wake up the body again. And this is the perfect time to do so, as we are working with the spring equinox that is tomorrow, March 19th. If you're tuning in past this, we've already made it. Happy equinox. Beautiful day of equal balance of day and night that we get to experience. Kan as well is connected to our genetic memories that are housed in our DNA. So that double helix sequence, we can think of the serpent as well moving through this, as well as our cosmic heritage in some capacity. There's a connection to this higher cosmic consciousness that comes through Kan. When we're actually thinking about Quetzalcoatl, or the feathered serpent, this deity that we see across the Mayan tradition, the Mexica Azteca tradition, the Toltec tradition, this is a deity that has been concerned with and involved with the evolution of human consciousness and development. So Khan, there is story that Khan actually was the one who helped humans to cultivate and process cacao, harvest and process in the way where you could drink it in a beverage and consume it. So there's a deep connection between Khan and our sacred plant teachers, and Khan guiding us to these sacred plants that have deep cosmic intelligence. They have deep earth wisdom within them, and they help to facilitate opening and expanding our consciousness and our life force energy, our vital energy that is living within us and sometimes is dormant and then is activated and awakened and bloomed within our system. Khan is one of those energies in the Maya tradition that has great power, but then behind that also can have great shadow. So while there's immense power in understanding the death and rebirth and transmutation process within yourself, harnessing your life force, harnessing your sexual and creative energy, right? This can also be used for more malicious intent, whether that's to manipulate, to charm, to seduce in a not so kind way. So those born under Khan have to learn how to master their energy. And ultimately, Khan is actually going to be very community focused, right? That destiny into is like community spiritual leadership. So my teacher as well, Tata Izaias, shares, the snake. We think of the snake's nest. What does the nest need at this time? And there might be a personal journey for Khan in learning what it needs for its nest, and then it extends out to the communal nest. Way the snake is showing us this incredibly deep process of renewal by shedding its snake skin. There's like this vibratory experience with the snake, right? Like even the snake moving on the ground, its belly to the ground, it feels the vibrations of the earth. So there also is this deep connection between the serpent and Mother Earth. Just think about how many times that we, in our adult lives, especially many of us in modern times, like actually just put our belly to the earth and just lay with the earth and breathe with the earth. This is what the snake does all the time. So during the Trecena Khan, it might be a good idea, especially if the weather's getting nice for you in certain areas, go and lay belly to the ground. Feel the ground, be with the vibration of the earth and see what that does for you. See how that feels for you. See how that feels for your body. As well, this is a great Trecena to really get back into taking care of your spine. So spinal health, yoga is a great way to stretch the spine, to tone the spine, right? Like these really amazing spinal twists that we can do. Because the spine is so important. It connects everything. All of our nerves kind of come off from the spine, and sometimes we forget to take care of it. We're slouched down. Posture is so important. So if that's an area that you've been neglecting, this is a good time to come back and take care of that. We do have a very active astrological forecast upcoming here in the next 13 days. We're welcoming the start of a new astrological year, the start of Aries season on March 19th. Today, we have the start of the Mercury shadow period. So this is the pre-retrograde period that we may have the first inkling of the lesson of review, revising, renegotiating, revisiting that's coming forward. Now, Mercury is going to be actually retrograde April 1st through the 25th. And this is going to be happening in the sign of Aries. Look to where Aries is in your natal chart. It is for sure in the hot seat this upcoming Trecena, as well as your Libra house, because we're going to have our lunar South Node eclipse in Libra on March 25th. The Mercury shadow period and eclipse season starting up are definitely the hot topics of this moment. I would say the next most active transit that I'm paying attention to is going to peak on March 20th. That's going to be the Venus-Saturn conjunction. They meet up roughly every year and a half. So this is an important moment, especially for those who are in their Saturn returns. So if you're at the end of your 20s, the end of your 50s, and you have Saturn natally in the sign of Pisces, this is a moment of reset with that Saturn return, with discipline, hard work, commitment, responsibility, sometimes restriction, delay, course correcting. when it comes to Venusian affairs of money, finance, values, romance, artistry, beauty. So just pay attention to that. Check to where you have Pisces in your natal chart. So with that, let's get into the day-by-day breakdown of this Trecena. So March 18th, we are working with Hun Kan, One Kan. And like I said, we have the beginning of the larger Mercury retrograde story. So this is the first Mercury retrograde of the year. What's interesting about this year in particular, 2024, is that our Mercury retrogrades are in all fire signs. Last year, they were in all earth signs. Now we do have a little bit of Virgo involved in the Mercury retrograde that's coming up in August, but you can think to look at your natal charts and see where you have the earth signs, and they're going to be in what's called a triad or triplicity. So they're all making a positive aspect to each other. Those were the places that you were reviewing, revisiting, revising last year. Now this year, we're revising in our fire sign houses. For example, as a Virgo rising, I had last year revision in my first, fifth, and ninth houses. So it was more about my own personal outlook, my relationship to my creativity, my relationship to the way I view life itself, my philosophy on life. This year, I am reviewing more so in my dark houses, the fourth, eighth, and 12th. So I'm reviewing things that are more behind the scenes for me, my private world, my psychological world, my connection to my ancestors and the unseen realm, my connection to death and rebirth, my connection to solitude and rest, and the collective unconscious. So this is a great way to look and just get an overview of what you're being called to review this year, and then look to what planets might be impacted as well. Like I said, this Mercury retrograde is going to be the 1st, the 25th. That's starting smack dab in the middle of eclipse season. So everyone might be getting a bit of a slowdown or a shift, a sizable shift coming up in the next month or so. Now, as well, we have something to look forward to, which is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on April 20th, and that should be a slingshot forward for us. But first, we have to wade through, I was going to say the waters of eclipse season, but really it's more like run through the fires of eclipse season with that total solar eclipse coming up in the sign of Aries on April 8th. So just to recap, March 18th, we start the Trecena of Kan, and Mercury hits the point where it will be moving back to retrograde this degree and starting out that story, the three-part story of this next Mercury retrograde. March 19th, we honor and welcome to Quaicain. This is a day of honoring our ancestors, of death, of asking for protection from illness, injury, accidents, malicious intent. And this is as well our spring equinox. We are starting our journey into the sign of Aries. We're leaving behind the last year. So Pisces season has been a time of reflection, of forgiveness, of honoring grief, of emotions. Things might have felt pretty confusing towards the end of this Pisces season as the sun conjuncted Neptune. With this day, we are stepping into that death and rebirth portal. Quaicain is ushering in this change for us. With the galactic tone or the energy of two, we are presented with choice, with duality, with partnership. So this is also a day to honor the balance of day and night that is coming forward for us. Really beautiful seeing Quaicain connect with this spring equinox. I know that the equinox is this bursting forth of life, but life can only burst forth from an origin place, and that's from the place of death and decay and regeneration. So Quaicain is providing some fertile ground for us. March 20th, we honor and welcome Trecena. This is the day of the deer, the day of the four directions, and of finding guidance, balance, but also honoring our freedom and autonomy. On this day, Mercury will be making a conjunction to Chiron in the sign of Aries. So this is actually a wonderful day to be communicating, processing, analyzing, journaling about some of our wounds that might be coming up, our sensitivities, our spaces that we're still working on that might need some healing, bringing forward a healing conversation on this day, as well, mental healing. So, healing of the mind on this day. This is a great day if you want to schedule some body work, some sort of work with a healing modality. It could be really helpful in calming the mind as well, getting into the body, right? Like Aries is that space kind of before consciousness really hits. It's just the spark of life, the impulse. So with this, we can work with what Chiron wants to communicate with us on this day if we're willing to open our ears and listen in. March 21st, we honor and welcome for Canil, Cahe Canil. Now, this is a day of planting seeds. Canil is the rabbit, it's fertility, it's innocence. We can plant beautiful seeds of intention and vision on this day, still in the portal of the equinox. And as well, we have Venus conjunct Saturn on this day. So, an important transit, like I talked about, that meeting of the Venusian principle with Saturn, the planet of commitment, responsibility, discipline, of boundaries, of reality. I love that Venus is in her exaltation in Pisces. So there's this softening of Saturn here. Venus has the upper hand, especially because we have Venus in what's called mutual reception with Jupiter. So Venus is in Jupiter's home sign, Jupiter is in Venus's home sign. They can help resource each other. Venus definitely has the upper hand of softening Saturn rather than Saturn making Venus more harsh at this time. So again, I'm really hoping for those who have a lot of Pisces placements, as well as if you're in your Saturn return, that this is a lovely time, this window of time that Venus is connecting with Saturn, to just get some softness, some affection, maybe a windfall of some financial movement for you if that's something that's been challenging. And that's what I'm really hoping for this transit. And I'm staying hopeful, which is very much a keyword for Jupiter, that there's a nice blessing and even just a warm hug from a friend, from a lover, from nature that comes forward and just kind of soothes the soul around this conjunction. March 22nd, we honor and welcome 5 To, Ho, To. This is a day of empowering ourselves to give offering, to give thanks, to give gratitude, to give payment where payment is due. This is a great day to settle debts. Just a reminder, if you're in the United States, to finish up your taxes. I know that's also kind of lingering, and it's best to get that done before Mercury fully goes retrograde here soon. This is a day to connect with fire. This is the nahual of the shark and the wolf. That's a masculine energy that comes through with toch. And if you have time on this day to make an offering to nature through creating a fire, through making a cup of cacao and offering it to the earth, these are wonderful days to give thanks for your time in this human existence, for your life, for the gifts that you've received from life. On this day, Mars will enter Pisces. Now, this is going to be somewhat of a challenging transit. So, you think of Mars, it's a fiery, hot planet, a planet of action and drive. It has a bit of a hard time being in the sign of the ocean, very deep water. Mars here can lose some of its drive. It goes from a hot fire to steamy, fizzling out. If you feel like your energy levels are not quite kicking in yet, this could be why. But Mars is going to bring drive and motivation to whatever themes, environments are located and situated in your Pisces house of your natal chart. Another aspect of this transit being challenging is the fact that we're going to have the Mars-Saturn conjunction. These are our two traditional malefic or challenging planets, stuck between a rock and a hard place. And they will, in their conjunction, start a new cycle of collective challenge that might be afoot. The conjunction as well is happening around the total solar eclipse on April 8th. We look to the April 8th eclipse. It's ruled by Mars. Mars will be conjunct Saturn. That is a pretty challenging setup. So I just want to make it clear that there will be some challenges that come up, especially if you have things very activated around like 15 to 25 degrees of Aries or around 9 to 18 degrees of Pisces. That conjunction is going to happen around 13 or 14 degrees Pisces, and then the eclipse happens around 19 or 20 of Aries. Well, the challenge will be surmounted, the challenge will be taken on, but we do have to look at it and see that there might be some loss or setback or something unexpected that kind of puts a roadblock in our way, and we have to figure that out. Thankfully, once we get through eclipse season, there's some really positive astrology, some of the best of the entire year that comes up with the start of Taurus season, Gemini season, even into Cancer seasons. Middle to late spring, early summer, I'm loving the astrology. March 23rd, we honor and welcome 6Z, Wakitzi. This is the nahual of the dog that relates to loyalty, unconditional love, but as well as authority. 6 is a galactic tone that translates to darkness. This can be a day where there can be some challenges that come up, particularly with authority, with those that are in positions of power. There's not much that is actively peaking on this day astrologically, but we're still in the swirl, like I said, of coming into eclipse season and the Mercury shadow. March 24th, we welcome and honor 7 bats, Wuku bats. This is awakening to the creative inner child within us, to honoring the artisans, honoring the weavers. Bats is also the thread that is the cosmic thread that weaves everything together in the cosmos and on our earth. It's also the nahual of the monkey, the mischievous and playful monkey. On this day, we have a lovely transit. We have Venus making a harmonious sextile to Jupiter. So Venus in Pisces meets up with Jupiter in Taurus, and they get to have a beautiful conversation from each other's home signs. I see positive developments happening here, especially in terms of love, money, finance, romance, artistry, beauty. And Venus gets to leave the arena of Saturn and start to make that connection with Jupiter, bringing back a little bit more hope, a little bit more silver lining, wisdom, and faith. March 25th, big day. We honor and welcome 8 Washaki. And again, we see the wildcat very present and prevalent, even as we ended the year of the wildcat. The fact that we have 8 coming up on this first eclipse of this eclipse season is not lost on me. So 8 connects to a sense of discipline and justice, of focus and responsibility to our sacred path. And on this day, we have a South Node lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So you're going to want to check to where Libra is in your chart. This is the area that's having a drainage right now, a minimization, a loss, a change in status on this day. So this will officially enter us into eclipse season territory. This eclipse will take place at 5 degrees of Libra, and thankfully is not making a tense or active dynamic aspect to anything in the sky. It is making a trine to Pluto, and the sun will be making that sextile to Pluto. So that is somewhat supportive. And again, Pluto is concerned with our soul evolution, our death, our rebirth, our transformation. So this eclipse is not going to feel as wild, in my opinion, as the one on April 8th. That is the one for sure to watch. It's the biggest eclipse of the year. As well, eclipses, wherever the line of totality is, it affects that location, country, events will be surrounding people from the line of totality, like if you're born and raised there, or the country itself. So America gets the hot seat. The eclipse is going through Mexico as well. So the line of totality, I think, is through Mazatlan and comes up through Texas and then up into the northeast of the United States. And for clarity, that line of totality is for the April 8th total solar eclipse. On March 26th, we honor and welcome 9 Belehe Ach. On this day, the moon will still be transiting the sign of Libra. It will be making an opposition with Mercury and a square with Pluto. So there might be some tense conversations, some interesting emotions that are going to be stoked up with, especially that moon in a square with Pluto. March 27th, we welcome 10 Ish, Lahu Ish. This is the day of manifestation of the divine feminine, the mystic wisdom of the feminine, the Mother Earth, the mighty jaguar. On this day, we don't have many astrological peaks, but we do have the moon moving into that sign of death and rebirth in Scorpio. So again, there is this mystical, magical, intense, and magnetic energy that will be pulsing through the air on this day. This is a wonderful day to honor the women in your life, to honor yourself if you are a woman, to honor the wombs of the world, and take time to connect with the Mother Earth. March 28th, we honor and welcome 11 Sikin, Hulahu Sikin. This is the day of the sacred bird, sacred intermediary and messenger between the sky and the earth. So we can think of the eagle, the quetzal, the condor, the hawk on this day. There's a sense of choice and freedom that is moving through this day, as 11 can bring resolution, but also choice forward for us. We think of the bird as well. We're getting a bird's eye view. We're zooming out to get a larger picture of what's going on from a different vantage point. On this day, we have Venus making a harmonious aspect to Uranus and Taurus. So Venus is in Pisces, Uranus is in Taurus. They're having a conversation. This is a day of artistic breakthrough, of artistic exploration, of artistic liberation, of romantic liberation as well. So having something spontaneous come through, the spontaneous date night, a spontaneous kiss with someone that you are out with, a spontaneous trip to the pottery studio and making something with your hands. I really love the energy of this day. And Sakin really is about blessing us materially through our work, through our career, through our businesses, through our jobs. So creating material abundance for us to nourish ourselves with. On March 29th, we honor and welcome 12 Ahmak. Kablahu Ahmak. This is the day of the honeybee. Ahmak is a day of asking for forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, letting go of guilt and shame and resentment. This is a day where we integrate understanding as well. 12 brings us this understanding, this coming to the end of a cycle on this day. On 12 Ahmak, the moon will be making a square to Mars. So moon in Sagittarius, making that square to Mars in Pisces. When the moon squares Mars, our emotions become a little bit more volatile, more aggressive. Knowing that we have the moon and Mars in a dynamic conversation on this day, let's be mindful to not exaggerate or blow things out of proportion. They're both coming from signs ruled by Jupiter. So there's this opportunity to inflate something bigger into something bigger than it is. Coming back, asking for the medicine of the bee, asking for the medicine of honey, bringing more sweetness to this day. We come to the end of this Trecena, March 30th. We honor and welcome 13 Noh, Osh Lahu Noh. This is a day of a very potent and active mind, a day of deep thought, mental chatter, of brainstorming, conceptualizing, analyzing, assessing. We see in Eastern traditions the guidance to quiet the mind, right? Quiet the mind, enter the heart, enter the body. quiet the mind so we can listen to nature, we can listen to a higher source, we can listen to our higher self. Many different schools of thought, which is so important. But there are times where we should lean into the mind and lean into its incredible processing power. I do like in the human design tradition how they say that the mind is great at analyzing, but it's not great at making decisions. You should go somewhere else, like your heart or your gut. And I do agree with that. But there are times where it is really palpable and potent to lean into the qualities of the mind that can come into deep focus, deep study of transforming knowledge and information into deeper wisdom. And this is one of those days on 13 No. So call in the energy of the woodpecker. The nahual of No is the woodpecker pecking away at the tree, pecking diligently to find the deeper wisdom, the deeper root, the deeper source, the core, and take time to honor all the gifts that you have created in your life through your mind, all of the wisdom that you've accrued through your experience, whether in school or in apprenticeship. The sun in Aries, moon in Sagittarius, that masculine and feminine principle, both in fire signs, working together harmoniously, connecting with each other harmoniously on this day. The choice is yours on this day. Maybe you want to challenge yourself and lean into quieting the mind, quieting the chatter, going to a place that is as silent as possible on this day of 13 No. Or lean into the mind, lean into the juiciest, fullest expression of what the mind and the mental capacity can do. 13 is a number, a galactic tone associated with ascension and magic. Where is the magic of the mind landing for you today? Thank you so much for tuning in today to this 13-day forecast. I hope it's been insightful. I hope it brings more conscious awareness to each and every day for you, jotting down the days that you would like to highlight for yourself. If you have in your astrological chart a lot of Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Libra activated, those 4 zodiac signs are really in the hot seat in the coming 13 days. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to guide you on the path of clarity in figuring out maybe some of your placements with your natal chart. I am available for one-on-one sessions, natal chart interpretation, current transits. I will be opening up now in this astrological new year to begin taking in consultations for the Mayan Cross and understanding your tree of life, your cross from the day that you were born under the Mayan tradition. I will always and still refer to my teacher and my colleague that I post in the notes here. But it has come through since this past time in Guatemala that I have a space I can open, an invitation I can open for people who feel really called to work with me in that capacity, that I'm ready to do so. And I'm very excited and honored to be opening up in that space. I started studying in 2022 and just wanted to really cultivate a right relationship, a personal relationship with the nahuales, working and observing and honoring the 260-day count for a few cycles until this space, and letting spirit, letting my nahual, letting Khan let me know when it's time to open up the space. So if that's something that interests you as well, please reach out. I'm wishing you a lovely equinox, happy astrological new year, happy Aries season. I am putting out a big prayer for all of us to be guided and protected and find wisdom in what comes up for us in this upcoming eclipse season. Lots of change coming forward. Sending lots of love your way, and see you next time.